All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another Red Talk. And today we have a distinguished guest, Clinton Miller from LePage, Parksville on Vancouver Island. Sorry, I'm getting my geography mixed up.
Yeah, not Victoria Island. Yeah.
Yeah, Vancouver Island. Anyways, and Clinton is a fantastic guy. Got to know him over the last number of years, even went fishing with him in last year. I got to say the guy's an amazing host, a great fisherman. But, I would say more importantly, he's an incredible business guy. He's a Chairman's Club member at LePage as a team, but also owns the brokerage, and he's got 2 locations and 100 agents. So this guy is doing it all, and he's doing it all with a smile on his face, and he's doing it all incredibly well. And it's funny, I watched the next 2 episodes of the Michael Jordan documentary last night, and Jordan, I'm not going to put you like with Jordan, okay? So don't go too crazy with this, Clinton. But what it reminded me of is your competitive fire and your drive. It's kind of like you're a competitive dude, right? And so I love that about you.
Just a foot and a half shorter.
Yeah, and a whole lot wider.
Ouch. Okay, fair enough.
And the vertical is probably
the intro was going so good, and then just really hit.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's how it goes, right? So anyway, but Clinton, thank you so much for joining us. It's really a pleasure, and I know you're gonna have a lot to share with our team today, and so really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So how are things going? I guess I always like to start with, how are things going on the island right now? What's the world like with COVID? You tell me there's going to be some news announced today.
Yeah. So the British Columbia government is coming out today with sort of sounding. It's probably going to be similar to what you and I were just speaking about previously, in slowly opening everything back up and had sort of the rules and how they want it all done. So we're looking forward to getting back to something. Because it's obviously been tough on everybody. Our area is central Vancouver Island, Parksville, Qualicum. So the island's about 900,000 people. I think I was looking today, Winnipeg's around 800,000. Does that sound right?
All right. Yep.
So they're similar in population. Vancouver Island's the size of Ireland. People don't realize how long it is. It's narrow, but quite long. And but central Vancouver Island is the highest average age per capita in Canada. So Qualicum Beach is average age is 70 years old.
Wow.
So when this hit, I was quite concerned with how this was going to take its toll in our area, because really any place in Canada, this is the highest average age. So on Vancouver Island, we've only had 4 fatalities, which has been amazing. All of those over the age of 82 with underlying conditions. So knock on wood, on the island, we've done really, really well. And I'm obviously very happy about that. So yeah, we're looking forward to getting back to opening the office. And yeah, there's a pent up demand right now. So I think that when this does open up, I think that the realtors are going to be busy. Mm-hmm. And I've been telling them every single week on our Zoom meetings that, we need to be cultivating, we need to be getting in touch with our clients, getting ready, right? Like, don't just watch. I know we've been watching a ton of Netflix. You can only watch Tiger King so many times. 3. Very entertaining. Amazing that it's all.
I'm at 0, man. I haven't seen it. I refuse to give in to the main.
You're smarter, but you're missing out on entertainment.
Okay. Keep it in mind.
So I just think getting ready right now and getting in touch with your clients is going to help, and the agents who do that successfully right now are going to be ahead when we are allowed to open back up here in BC. So that being said, we're down considerable.
What's the market done there?
What's it done? Sorry?
Yeah. Well, how's the market reacted to everything?
So I did an April over April, which didn't look very good. I did the April over April stats. Our prices are down 2.6%. Now, we had somebody come out in media on the news or out of Vancouver and said that we're going to be dropping 30% when this all started.
In price?
They were talking volume, but all the buyers assumed it was price. So that's all we've heard. So educating our clients has been difficult because they all keep quoting this 30%, and they think that prices are going to drop 30%. So the buyers all just waited. I mean, they thought they were going to get a 30% discount. It's been 2.6%. And so just our tour meeting, informing our agents, educating them, and so they can educate their clients, I think is really important.
Yeah. So what is the volume down for April for you guys? You don't mind
Volume
asking.
is down considerable. We're down, I think, about 80%.
Holy smokers.
Yeah.
Wow.
So number of houses sold were down a lot.
So you guys basically came to a screeching halt.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was tough. It is tough. So,
Yeah.
but I'm just preparing. I mean, we're still doing deals. A lot of vacant houses are selling right now. That's much easier to handle, obviously, but just protocol in what the realtors need to be doing with their clients and how we open this up. And some clients aren't comfortable at all, so you just got to take it off the market. However, we've had agents lose listings to other agents because their fear of this is greater than their clients. And that was what I was talking about yesterday to our agents was 4 fatalities on a Vancouver island of 900,000 people is phenomenal. You don't have to be fearful of this. We respect it. We're concerned. We're doing everything we can. But if an agent has more fear than their client, it's a concern. And that agent got fired, and another agent from a different company came in and listed 2 high-end houses. It was disappointing, but I guess we're all responsible for our own business, right? So
yeah, absolutely. No, that's interesting. In our meeting yesterday, and kind of reiterating with our group, our volume, like our sales were down as a board just about 30%, and prices were down less than 1. So I said, hey, you know what? As bad as it's been and as tough as it's been, like, if we're not at 80%, so
yeah.
we're faring this this pandemic better than most, and so let's not get too down in the doldrums, and don't sit in this. Let's keep going, because we're actually doing, compared to a lot of the country, we're doing pretty good.
That's amazing. Yeah, those are your numbers. You guys have been, you're doing amazing. Yeah.
So that's what we felt. Yeah. Awesome. So I guess, out of this pandemic stuff now, but tell us a bit about a bit of your story, how you got into real estate. I know we talked a bit about it the other day, but I love the story that, because you had a hard time getting in. Real estate is like a wide open door. It's easy to get in, but not for you. What happened?
So my family's always been in construction. All my uncles, my grandfather, my dad. So they moved to the island in '76 from Prince George, actually Winnipeg originally. My mom's side all comes from Winnipeg. And then they moved to Prince George, and then they moved to the island. That was in '76. So a family of builders. And that's what I grew up in construction. And one of my uncles was the manager of LePage here in Parksville. And we would go for lunches. I'm filthy dirty. He comes in these really nice clothes, really nice vehicle. And he was always smiling. And I just thought, you know what? I want to do that one day. And he was always trying to get my other uncle into real estate. And I would listen to the conversations. And I thought one day I might be able to do that. So I'd been in construction about nine years, and I was filthy dirty. Went to the office. I just said, forget it. I'm doing this. Went to ask him for a job. I was 26 years old, and he said no. And I was shocked. He said, "You're too young." And keep in mind, we're in Qualicum, Parksville, highest average age in Canada. The average agent was probably 92.
Yeah.
So I was young. I was really young back then. That was in 2002. 1 year later, almost to that month, like to the date, I just said, no, I'm doing it. Went back to the office again. This is a year later. My cousin, his daughter, was in the office, and the two of us worked him over to hire me. And we had to convince him. And I was 27. And he said yes. And I've never looked back. I went to the first summer barbecue party for the office. And I remember looking around going, yeah, okay, I am young. So I had concerns.
Yeah.
I had concerns. Can I do this? Why is everybody so much older than me? What am I missing? And then I just started. Right.
So tell me a bit about that. Not everybody on the call is going to, everyone's at various ages, but a lot of our agents are kind of starting out in that same sort of demographic, and they're young, and maybe they're going, hey, this is crazy. How did you get going, and how did you start, again, being not behind the 8 ball, but yeah, again, average age, you were young, so you had some obstacles to overcome. How did you overcome them? How did you get going?
So I wanted to find a niche. I wanted to find out what I needed to figure out very quickly what it was that I was going to do and how I was going to be successful. I had a very high drive to be successful. I made a terrible employee. I'm an I and a D personality. I made it. My dad fired me like 4 times in construction because I always thought I could do it better than him.
Yeah.
And so I knew that I had to be my own boss. So I was very driven. I wanted to be successful in real estate. And yeah, my wife and I, we were newly married, and we made a commitment. We just said, look, we're going to do this full throttle, and we're going to put 100% into this. And I think a lot of agents miss that. I think that drive will make up for skill a lot of the time. And I had no skill, I had no experience, but I had drive, I had motivation, I had passion, and I just used that. We didn't take a vacation for the first 5 years of real estate. I sold myself out. I was going to do this. My dad and mom, they're kind of perfectionists in certain ways. And my dad always taught me, if you're going to do something, work hard at it and do it well, or it's not worth doing. So I've grown up with that mentality, and I thought, I'm going to do this well. And I'm going to put 110%. Well, there's no such thing as 110%, but 100% into this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do this. And so it was drive is really what got me going. And then I started to see traction, and I started to get a taste for this and realize that, okay, this is something that I can do.
So before my next question, I always forget to do this at the beginning, but if anybody has any questions for Clinton, please, as we go, put them into the Q&A box, and I'll be moderating those and forwarding them to Clinton. But you kind of said using the drive. Can you drill down a bit into that? What does that mean? So I'm thinking, like, I'm picturing it going, okay, 27-year-old kid, I'm going to use my drive. What did that actually tactically look like for you? What did it look like on the daily? What were those daily practices you had to put into to get those results?
So I was the youngest by far, like by far, and technology was just starting to come out. We didn't even really have, digital cameras were just coming out. They're all like $1,400-$1,500. Nobody could afford them. So we were still using old school cameras. When I first started in 2003, we still had the MLS brochure. So technology was just starting to come out. So I realized that I had a huge advantage here. If I was on top of tech, I saw that was the way real estate was going. So I jumped all over that. Everybody had these we sell pagers, and cell phones were we had them, but they were the larger Nokias before even the flip phone, right? I remember when the Razor came out, and we thought, oh my God.
Man, I remember the Razor was just like, everyone wanted a Razor.
So here I am, I got a Nokia, and I've got a pager on my belt. It looked like Batman, like it was ridiculous. But everybody had this TELUS pager that they rented. I don't know why, but I hate renting. I like owning. And I thought, I'm going to buy one. So I bought the smaller one. I can't remember the brand name. We were on tour. We used to do caravan tours. We do them virtually now. We were on tour, and every time a floor shift came out, we would get Page on our pagers. And mine went off. And then literally 1 minute later, everybody else in the vehicle, we're all in the one vehicle, theirs went off. I realized that my pager was quicker than all of the company's pagers. So I thought, okay, every time a floor shift comes available, I'm going to hit it. So they nicknamed me the floor whore, which was terrible. But I just worked it hard. So I found something, and I just put a lot of effort into that. And I knew that if I started making contacts and clients, then I could build my database and go from there, because no one is ever going to hand you anything in real estate. I knew I had to work hard for it. And so technology was probably my greatest thing. And then marketing early on, just doing things like feature sheets on the sign. Nobody was doing that in color. A couple people in black and white. I did it in color. I spent the extra money. And that apparently revolutionized the marketing. But you know what? You've got to find something that you're good at and just go for it. And that's kind of how I started.
Yeah. So again, so you're 27. Again, started your grasping technology, and I think there's probably some nowadays you still have to do that. Basically, you're grasping technology. You're being a little different than what's going on there. How did you overcome? I guess once you're in front of clients and going, hey, you're really young. All the other realtors are. Got a bit more, they're longer in the tooth, got a bit more experience. How did you overcome that?
Work ethic. So I would tell clients, look, I don't have the experience. That's obvious. I just started real estate, but nobody is going to work harder for you. Nobody is going to be more committed to selling this house than I am. And I had to use what I had. you've got a couple cards in your hand, you have to use them. And I didn't have the experience yet. So I had to push something else. And that was my passion and drive. And I loved real estate, and they could see that, right? I think drive is really important, but you have to have a passion for it. When you buy anything, if the salesperson has a passion for what they're selling, it's contagious. And your optimism, nobody ever wants to deal with a negative realtor ever. And that's right here is a large part of real estate. So I would just, I don't know, I'd answer my phone every time it rang, boom, answered it. I'd get back to people really quick. I got to be known as sort of like, Clint will do this for you. You need a house, he'll find it for you. You need it sold, he'll do it for you. And just started building that reputation.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I know that's a lesson that that my dad taught me. He was early on in the career too. He said, you don't even have to be good. You just have to be there.
Right.
It's like, visibility, answering your phone, being prompt. Like it sounds really basic, and especially nowadays when we're so used to, we're taught to, inbound marketing and all this stuff, but actually just being visible, being out there. I kind of always hate that term though, being out there. Like, what does that actually mean? But being responsive, again, being there, being visible is a huge part of it.
But Michael, I did hopefully people don't think this is bad, but I needed to know because I heard the response rate for emails and response times was terrible. I was looking at all the stats. So I made up a fake email address and I emailed a bunch of our agents and I said, I'm from Alberta. We just sold. We're moving to the island. We're looking for an agent. Can you show us some houses next weekend? Like, I made it good, but not too good.
Right.
Half of those agents never responded to me.
Wow.
Those agents that didn't respond were the agents that couldn't afford not to respond. They were the ones that were having a bit of a struggle. And the agents who got back to me were the top producing agents in our company. I thought to myself, this is how it works. If somebody is willing to our average end is $10,000 for one end. So if you're going to work with a buyer, you have $10,000 sitting there ready to go. And half of my agents didn't get back to me through an email.
Wow.
So, answering your phone, I don't have my ringer on now, but I've built my business. I've been very blessed to be able to do that. And you and I both know I love text. Yeah. But when you first start out, you need to be present and you need to get on things and answer and be there.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the, so you started, you're hustling, you're grinding, kind of going through kind of the chronologically here. What were some of were there any leaps or what caused a leap in your business? Because to take you from young guy, hustling, grinding to this, hey, you know what, I got a business here. And how did you grow that? What was that leap? And what were some of those lessons during that leap?
So sorry, one of your questions here I wanted to address because it said,
for sure.
what sort of, basically what was that aha moment?
Yeah. Sorry, I skipped over a couple of the.
That's okay.
You're sticking to the script. That's fine. Sorry. I like it.
No, because it leads into this.
Okay. Yeah.
My very first deal. Yeah. It was, my first commission was, I think it was $12,000, which for the time was huge. And I remember thinking that's more money than I would have made in 4 months of construction, framing and abusing my body and working like a dog. And that was my aha moment. I got that check and I'm like, I can do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a lot of this and I'm going to do it well. So 2004, I just worked like crazy and I just really wanted to work on referrals. And I went through all my friends, all my family. My uncle gave me a very good piece of advice. He said, be very proud of what you do. And I think a lot of agents, because we're in the fourth least trusted profession in Canada. And I always tell my agents, be proud of what you do. Prove everybody wrong. The whole thing in BC, when we couldn't double end anymore, it came from Vancouver and it came from lack of ethics. And the media hit us hard. So we have to overcome that. Be proud of what you do. And I was always proud of what I did. And it's one of the most expensive investments that somebody will ever entrust you with. And it is a big honor to do this well. So be proud of what you do. Let everybody know that you're in real estate. So in answering that, 2004, I worked my butt off. 2005, the market was climbing. It was going crazy. 2005, I did 120 deals.
Wow.
I didn't have an assistant till August. It was out of control. It was too much. My friends started complaining. They never saw me. My ringer was Fine Young Cannibal. She drives me crazy, and I would hear it in my sleep.
Yeah.
I hate that song to this day. So I got an assistant. So that's to answer your question, assistant. That changed my life. I got a good assistant who was not like me, who was very detailed, because that's what assistants need to be. They need to be the quarterback and detailed, because that's what they do. And Buffini says, don't major in the minors. I was majoring in all the minors. I was doing everything. It's not efficient. So I got an assistant. Even if you get a part-time assistant, work out how much you're worth an hour, right? So there's 2,000 working hours in a year. If you make $100,000, divide that by 2. You're worth $50 an hour. If you make 100 grand, if you make 200 grand, you're worth $100 an hour. So to pay an assistant $17, $18, $19 an hour to do that is more than makes sense. And so getting assistant was the number one thing I did. Getting a buyer's agent was number 2. Right. Changed my career.
Yeah. So the question came in about that, and now, so 120 deals. That's obviously it's huge volume, especially at a young age. But so if you could roll it all back, I'm just kind of paraphrasing the question here. When should you have gotten an assistant? Because if somebody wants, maybe not everyone's going to get to 120 deals, right? Very few do. Mm-hmm. So when should you have gotten it? Or when do you see now, even as you work in your brokerage with your agents, when do you see that they should start looking at, hey, you know what, we should start leveraging an unlicensed assistant?
I think if you're doing instead of commission, because every end is different. I think if you're doing 3 deals a month, honestly, if you're doing 30 deals in a year, 3 deals a month is 36. If you're doing 30 deals a year, you should have an assistant. What's your average commission, would you say?
$6,000.
6,000?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's $180,000 a year, if my math is correct. Yeah, you need an assistant at that point. I would say 150,000, you need an assistant in commission. Yeah. And you can start with a part-time assistant. You could share an assistant with another agent, so you're not committing to full-time. But if you do it properly, your GCI, your gross, is going to grow huge if you're doing it properly. And that's not majoring in the minors. I don't answer any of my emails. I don't do any of my showing requests or feedback. That's all done for me, because I need to be the rainmaker that is cultivating. That's our job. Our job is to cultivate and to close deals. So, yeah. Sorry if I'm talking to
no,
I love real estate.
No, it's good. And again, I'm kind of going a little off script here and there. And as you say things, my brain gets triggered with a few things. So on that note about how your team works now, what were some of those systems that I guess the assistant, but what other systems did you put in place that allowed you to take control of your business instead of just, I'm assuming, not to put words in your mouth, but you mentioned, resenting your phone ringing.
Yeah.
I know, hey, there's agents on the call who are probably sitting there praying for their phone to ring, but there's other ones who are going, hey, you know what? I'd love to have this stop. I need to get more control of my life and my business. What did you do for that when you started hating your phone ringing?
Yeah. And I don't want that to sound someone who's wanting their phone to ring is probably wanting to punch me in the face right now. Everybody is at a different stage of their career, and everybody has different challenges. We're all going to deal. We're all so different, right? Mm-hmm. I grew my business very quickly, and I needed someone to help me. And that's why I got an assistant. So I was very lucky because she was young. And I think I just got lucky because she was so detailed, and she would just fix problems and figure out systems for me. So she started creating my system. So we do a binder. We get a black binder, and we have on the spine of the binder, and we line them all up, green are active listings, yellow are pending deals, red are sold with subjects removed. And then we have the date of the possession date on that binder. So it's very visual for me. And it's old school, but I still love it because I could walk into the office and see how many active listings we have, how are we doing for deals, and how are we doing for solds. She created that whole thing. You open the folder up, the left side has the listing documents on it, the right side has all the sale documents on it. You can check anything. I know it's still paper, it's old school. We are paperless now as well. Yeah. But she created these systems for me and really helped me be efficient, because I think a lot of realtors, naturally, we're not detailed, and we're not best at being efficient. There's so many things. The buyer's agent, my buyer's agent would now do all of my showings and work with all the buyers, and I could focus on just doing listings and selling those properties. A successful business has 2/3 listings, 1/3 buying. those listings are the hooks in the water to catch the fish. If you don't have listings, you don't have people coming in to buy.
Right.
Generally speaking, unless you're working open houses. When you first start, you have to work open houses to get the buyers. They eventually turn into sellers. And now you can start focusing on the listings, and the buyers will come.
Yeah, absolutely. That's, I know when I started, I shared this with our team last time we had an interview, I think with Michelle Reese, and about just, I wish when I started, I had that long-term vision in mind where, okay, I was working a lot of buyers, a lot of open houses to get the buyers, but I kind of saw them as a buyer and that was it. I didn't see them as that seller in 5 years or that seller in 3 years. Right. And so if I could go back and turn it, I would have nurtured that relationship a lot more, seeing that, hey, these aren't current, yes, they're current buyers, but these are future sellers, and nurtured that. So I would have set myself up for years down the road.
Through this pandemic, fear has been, that's what I've been most shocked about, is the fear and how it grips people and how it stops you from getting to the next level. So number one was, I had a fear of leaving construction because I had a paycheck coming in. I had to get over that and make that jump into real estate. And it was the best thing I ever did. I had a fear with hiring an assistant. How am I going to pay for this? How am I going to keep her busy? I just did it. You have to get over it. I had a fear of hiring a buyer's agent. I'm going to be now responsible for his finances, essentially, and feeding him leads. I think you've got to overcome fear. You've got to make an educated decisions through your real estate career, but don't ever let fear hold you back. You will never progress in this business.
Yeah, absolutely. So on that topic, it kind of parlays a little bit, is you've built your business in our conversation, you're a social guy. You really built it socially. And what you said is you built it by relationships and having social intelligence. And part of that is, if you're too afraid to talk to somebody, at Starbucks or whatever it is, that's another part of fear that you have to overcome. So how did you, maybe you could go into how you built your business being social, and were intentional about it, not just going out and drinking and having a great time and pickups, but you were intentional about it and having social intelligence. Sorry, I'll let you go on.
Yeah, I'm in our office. We have 6 chairman teams and 6 of the top 12 in British Columbia in our office. It's very interesting to me, and I'm friends with all of them. It's very interesting to see how they do business, and they're all extremely successful, but they do it very differently. So Rob O's, for instance, he was number one. He stole the title from me. He was number 1 last year in BC. He is it's marketing and systems. He's not going to be the last guy on the dance floor, and he's not going to be the last guy in the hockey room, in the hockey dressing room, sticking around. He's gone. But his system, he's a higher D, right? And his systems and his marketing are phenomenal. My social game was what I honed in on. And I realized very quickly that social intelligence is honestly half of this business for success. And it is something that can be learned and improved on. But I realized very quickly that was my niche, was social intelligence, and just being a social guy and having people like and trust me started generating business. And that's how I was going to do it. So hockey's a perfect example. I started in 2003. We actually had 3 realtors on the team, including me, three agents, all in the same company, all in the same team. And I thought, this sucks. Like, this is my network.
You got to get a new team.
Yeah, I got to get traded here.
Yeah.
So I was very proud of what I did. Everyone knew I was a realtor right away. And I didn't take myself too seriously, because the first thing that they wanted to tease me about was a used car salesman. I heard all the jokes. The other 2 guys, they got their back up. They didn't like it. They took themselves too seriously. I took the other approach where I'm like, no, I'm going to create a relationship with these guys. I'm not going to be what the other 2 guys are doing. I'm going to joke around. I would often make the joke first. Once they realized that I wasn't offended and I was cool with it, they started trusting me. Not one of the team members that year did a deal with any of those two other agents. I sold 3 or 4 properties that year from just being the guy that they liked. And I hung around, had a beer or 2 after the game, and it was social. And that's how I created my relationships. And that's still how I do real estate. My number 1 strength is relationships.
Yeah. Fantastic stuff. So you mentioned social intelligence. Yeah. I love the term. I think I need some of it. So help me, educate me, dive into social intelligence.
Okay. So again, being the owner of we've got 120 agents in total. I get to interview a lot of agents. I get to help our teams out. I get to help them structure. What I've learned in 17 years is social intelligence. Like I said, it's honestly, it's half of this game. It's half of this business. And a lot of agents don't pay attention to it. So I was traveling in Australia. This is back in 95. We ended up doing the disc. It was actually colors, but it's almost identical to the disc.
Right.
And we spent a whole day on doing this. And I thought, what are we doing? What's this personality profiling? This is kind of weird. And I didn't know anything about it. The next day, my eyes were open to going, okay, Clinton, this is how you're born. This is your personality. This is why you respond to certain people this way. This is why certain people are attracted to you. And start realizing the 4 quadrants of the personality profile and who I am and how I behave and how I respond. Because number one, if you don't know who you are, you're never going to improve. How are you going to fix something if you don't know what needs working on? And then number two, when you sit down at a kitchen table for a listing or you walk through that door with clients, you've got 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute to assess their personalities. Who's in control here? What do they need? What do they want? Who are they? Are they detailed? Are they high D? Do they just want the numbers? Do they want to have a beer first and feel comfortable with you? Like, who is this person? The quicker you figure that out, the more successful you will be every single time you meet somebody for the first time. Can I show my slide? I love
please. Right? Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay. It's better be up here. Okay. Oh, sorry. That's showing my whole screen, isn't it, Michael?
Well, we got your presentation here.
Okay. Yeah, that's my presentation I did in Vancouver. Okay. So just focus on this slide here. It's small and you barely see it. This is the DISC profile. So you've got D, you've got I, S, and C. Now, this is interesting, and I don't want anyone to get offended here because it's a stat. 90% of successful agents in North America are D or I, 90%. That doesn't mean that if you're an S or a C that you can't be successful. It just means that you need to pay attention to what maybe a D or an I are naturally born with or doing properly. I love this stat here. 3% of the world is a D, but the amount of Ds that make up entrepreneurship and own their own businesses is through the roof. But only 3% of the world's population is a D. 11% are Is, which are the influential, what I am, social. 69% of the world's population is steady. They just want to feel stable, supportive. They're the ones that ask, is this a nice neighborhood for my children? They're the ones that need to feel safe. And then you've got the Cs, which make 17%. These are the accountants. These are the cautious. These are the detailed ones. These are the ones who correct your spelling every email that you send out. The quadrant that is across from you is the quadrant that drives you crazy. So I'm a high I.
Yeah.
That detailed person that corrects my spelling drives me insane. When you're a D, the person who can't make a decision because they need to feel safe, but the D is railroading them, they clash in personality. So what I'm always telling my agents and what I realize is you need to come to the middle, or you need to cross the bridge and go right to them. So you have to relate to whatever personality you're dealing with. And the more you figure this out and who you are, what your strengths are, it helps you expose your strengths and just rely on those mostly. And then also when you meet a client, you realize who they are so that they can respect and trust you and you can relate to them. Michael, that slide, if actually studied and people actually get into DISC or some kind of personality profiling, will change their career if they actually care about it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Leave it, if you don't mind, can you leave it up there?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. I want to pick on this a little bit. And again, we had, as I mentioned to you, we did some DISC training with a speaker that came in for our spring kickoff. But it's also, I think it was a week before the pandemic hit. So it might have been, blown through some people's minds, and we learned some valuable stuff, and then a pandemic hits, and so you forget it quickly. So how do you find out, again, you said you got 30 seconds a minute to figure somebody out.
Yeah.
Do you have some, do you do this naturally, or do you have some key questions? What do you look for to help identify where these guys are at?
So best way is on the phone because you haven't met them yet. So on the phone, start asking them questions about their house, because number one, they're calling you about their house that they're going to have to sell or a house they want to buy. I ask them about their place, and you can get a ton of information by how they respond and the questions that you're asking. If they start going into the detail about what kind of granite they used in their kitchen and how much it costs them, you start to hone in and going, okay, this is probably a C personality with a bit of D. You start to realize who they are. If they go, oh, my kids have grown up here, we've got the neighbors, they're best friends, you know they're an S. If it's a high I and there's not a lot of detail and they're like, man, you've got to see my man cave. I've got a 70-inch screen in there. It's amazing. You know, they're high I. If it's a D, they're like, okay, I bought this. Not my favorite house, but I knew I was going to make $100,000 on it, 6 years later. Can you come here tomorrow at 2? You're dealing with the D. So I just ask them leading questions and start to figure out who they are on the phone. Set up your appointment and then go and meet them. You already have an advantage at that point. Also, by the quick tip, when you're doing a market evaluation, be the last person in the house. Always bring a listing contract with you, because I always make clients promise that they won't list with the first agent, that they'll wait for me to show up. And many, many, many times I will list the house after right at our visit. I'm the last one to go through. Just a little sidebar.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're working with a D, they just want to go make a decision and get this thing signed, right? D will hate a 2-step.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you've got to know how to appeal to them. I do a live presentation on my laptop, but I will curtail it to whatever personality type we're dealing with. I've had Ds where they don't even want to see this. Like, don't waste my time. Clinton, what do you think it's worth? And then I shoot out a number. They're like, yeah, I'm good with that. And they're like, you ready to list? It's like, what? Huh? What? The I has to have 2 beer first and actually get to know who you are and feel comfortable. I mean, the personality profiling is the number one most underrated thing in my opinion, that agents don't pay attention to. And the problem is, if you don't care about how people respond to you, or you don't care about what people think of you, none of this is going to mean anything. You actually have to care about it. It's like, if you don't care about money and respect money, you'll never save it. You'll never have it. The same thing with this. If you don't respect social intelligence and how it works, you're never going to have it or get better at it.
So a couple things, a couple questions I got. One is, I always struggle with this one. And maybe some agents out there do, and I'm almost a little embarrassed to ask. That trap question of, hey, do you want a beer? as if you're a high I. So how did you take the beer, or do you not take the beer?
you take the beer. They wouldn't be offering you that if it didn't appeal to them. It's different. If they say, hey, do you want a beer? Yes. Hey, what can I get you? Coffee, tea, beer, Coke. If they start giving you different options, then I say, well, what are you having?
Right.
Because again, going more into social intelligence, birds of a feather flock together. Your friends, good chance, are very much like you. Your clients are attracted to you because they're like you. So you're dealing with personalities. You've got to figure out who they are. And if you have what they're having, if you go to what is important to them, they're going to relate to you more. I never approach people the same way, and I don't approach them my personality. I try to approach their personality, and that's just relating to people. It's not being fake. It's relating to people.
Right. So you being a D and an I, looking at that, you saying, going diagonally, it frustrates you, if you go diagonal. So I'm looking at your D quotient now. So there's a very good possibility, against 70% chance, that you're going to run into an S as a client, which is going to frustrate you. So how do you tailor, yourself to meet an S if that's going to be somebody who drives you crazy? What do you specifically do?
That's a very good observation. Yeah, 70% of the world's population is an S. So the Ds, you naturally really have to slow yourself down and have more patience. That S buyer is going to want to see a lot of homes, and they're going to want to feel comfortable before they make a decision. You being a high D, you can walk into a house and go, yeah, this is good. Let's do this. So I have to slow myself right down, and I have to be a lot more comforting and understanding, because an S will feel like you're railroading them. If you're going to be a high D in their house, they're going to feel threatened, and they're going to feel like you're railroading them. But again, high Ds are, sometimes they don't care. They just want to speak their mind. They want to get jobs done. They're doers, but I just have to slow everything right down and do that. That's another thing, Michael, on the phone. If you're working with buyers, ask them how long they like to spend in a house and what's important to them when they walk through a house, because that'll also help you in what personality you're dealing with. And if it's an S or a C, you might be spending 25 minutes in each house. If you're an I or you're a D, you might be spending 5 minutes.
Right.
And so that will give you a lot of information as well.
Yeah, I'm just writing that one down. And then, so you also led off with this thing, you know, a lot of the agents, successful agents, again, are D or I. And I know, because I've seen some other of our agents' personality profiles. Again, maybe they are a C or an S. So now they're not doomed, right? They're not like, oh, you're destined to fail. So what do they need to do? How can they structure their business, you know, to succeed, you know, so they're not doomed?
So they're not doomed. We have some top producers who are definitely C's and S's. The D's and I's get away with a lot more because they are the ones that have a lot of confidence, and they're just going to jump out there and do it. And that is what gets real estate done. The S's and the C's, they want to have everything perfectly laid out. They want to have the details in place. They want to feel comfortable. They have a harder time. So what they have to do is sometimes they have to be more aggressive. When we were having a hot market and there was multiple offers going in, the C and the S's were losing their multiple offers like crazy. The D's and the I's were cleaning up. And so I would have conversations with some of our C's and S's and say, listen, I know that you think this is aggressive, but I'm trying to encourage you that you need to get your clients over the fence faster. You need to jump on these things when they come out. The D and the I's can hire an assistant to be their detail and quarterback, whereas the S and the C's can't really hire someone to go and do the closing and the running around.
Right.
If that makes sense. So the C's and the S's have to get out of the office, and they have to cultivate and get into clients' houses, if I can say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we have some very successful C and S's, and they have to come out of their comfort zone because they're not necessarily always extroverts. And you've got to get out there. So that would be my encouragement is, again, just look at what you're not naturally gifted at and work on it. And so the D's and the I's, I'm a high I, I have to work on my detail more. And I know that. So I'm trying to be better at that. I'm trying to be on time. I'm late for everything. The fact that I was on this call by 8 o'clock is a miracle in itself. So
Well, I appreciate you being on time. You were actually early.
I was actually early, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's really great stuff. And I really think that's important. And I think it translates not just to our clients, but to, you know, our relationships with friends, with family, our spouses, our children, et cetera. So I'm just curious, because you're big in this. Have you identified your kids at all? Do you kind of have them into their quadrants, or?
So we have 4 children, 3 daughters and son. He's the second oldest. My youngest is a handful, and she is me. My wife says it literally every single day. I have a hard time disciplining her because it's hilarious. And, but she's a handful. I just keep telling myself, I think she's going to be, she's either going to end up in jail or she's going to be really successful. Like it's 50-50.
Right. Yeah.
But we definitely know our personalities of our kids, and you have to address that. It's a very good relation. You figure out who your kids are and how you have to relate to them, because you can't talk to each child the same. You can't teach each child the same. It's the same thing with clients. You need to figure out who they are and how to address what they need. What my daughter yesterday, she was just in a slump, and she's very emotional, and she's a high S. And I just had to slow myself down because I was getting frustrated, and I just had to go to her level and I had to be comforting, right? As I had to be I had to really get into my S with her, and she just snapped right out of it. So we have to do the same thing with our clients. We have to assess who they are and how we have to relate to them. The golden rule is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I don't buy that. It's do unto others as they need you to do to them. I don't walk in as a high I in every single door. I have to address that client and meet them at where they're at, and relate to them to who they are.
And I love that line. And if anybody's paying attention, we had Tom Story on here a couple of weeks ago, another successful agent who is at the other end, on the Eastern side, said the exact, quoted the platinum rule as well. And so again, for anyone taking notes, like that is, hey, you have two guys, there's two successful agents with great businesses saying the same thing. Like there are common truths, there are common fundamentals that run, like their agents are successful for a reason, and there are common traits. And this is one of those things, is being able to adapt to the people you're working with and not just enforce your personality on them.
Yeah, 100%. I didn't know he said that, so I stole it from him then, I guess.
No, it's great, but again, that's indicative of, and you've seen it as well with your team, right? There's common traits with top agents, and we can model ourselves after them. So,
Michael, sorry, can I just say our 6 chairman, and this isn't just chairman only. I apologize if it's coming off that way. I'm just using them as an example. If you take my top 20% most successful, I cannot think of one of them who is not really in tune with social intelligence and hasn't figured it out. And the thing with IQ is taught in school, social intelligence isn't. IQ is something you're born with. Social intelligence is something that can be learned. So you have the chance, but you have to pay attention to it. You can learn social intelligence. There's so many programs and things you can do online to really increase your skills. So I always tell people, if you don't have a good referral business, and you're not picking up clients and they're not trusting you and they're not giving you their name and number, and you're sucking at open houses, there's a good chance you're not connecting with them, but it's going to be on a social level. Yeah. And I have a sister-in-law, hopefully she never sees this. She is a Mensa. IQ is off the chart, but she is socially stupid. She is socially stupid. Yeah. And it's just so sad for me. It's like, that's so wasted. And in real estate, no one cares how smart you are. They want to like you. They want to trust you. And that social intelligence is number one. Yeah. Sorry, I beat that horse.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's a horse that should be whipped. And I think it's definitely, as we study this more at our office, and I'm studying it more. And that's what I find, again, I found it very valuable talking to the seasoned asses, going, okay, it doesn't mean you have to completely be fake and be something you're not, but you have to be aware first, right? And know how to adapt. And okay, if it's time to, I gotta channel some inner eye to get out there a bit more. Yep. Okay, that's one thing you got to do. But
I have a 1S who was so worried about her CRM. Okay, well, what my CRM? I've got it scheduled to do this, this, and this. She didn't have anybody in there. It doesn't matter how organized you are. You've got to start getting people. And you can only do that by getting out and doing face-to-face and cultivating, right? So,
yeah. I'm then off script, and I apologize. You mentioned face-to-face. Do you see, I know the virtual world has kind of overtaken the face-to-face, in this pandemic. I've had some interesting conversations with people, agents and brokers and just other business leaders about, will people, do you think, kind of gravitate back to this, keep it virtual, or do you see everyone kind of rushing back? As a realtor, I'll say, is it back to getting important to, hey, this virtual world was fun while it lasted, we got to get back in front of people? Or do you see this virtual world being kind of a new wave of how we're doing our business? I know it's kind of a really odd, open-ended question, but
I think we're heading there, and I think this probably accelerated it. I mean, Zoom in itself has just exploded, right? Last time I checked, they had over 200 million users. So wow. Even in our virtual tours, we meet at one place every Tuesday morning, and we have all the new listings and price reductions up on the screen. And they're, an office of Qualicum Park's 100 people, we get 40 people there. Well, our Zoom meetings, we've been getting 70, 65, 70 better attendance. So now we're talking about, well, maybe we'll do one of each. Maybe 1 week we'll do a Zoom meeting, 1 week we'll do the face-to-face. Right. I still like face-to-face because you can read body language better. This is pretty good. It's much better than text, or right. Email. Yeah. But I think face-to-face there's still something about it. Meeting somebody in person, I don't think you'll ever lose that. But I mean, this might be better for maybe out-of-town purchases and virtual tours of a house and stuff, right?
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, curious. Thanks. Quickly, I just want to be conscious of the time as well, and I want to leave enough time for some Q&A. But quickly, if you could talk a bit about, you said, half the battle is the social intelligence. The other half, I'm assuming, there's marketing involved. Mm-hmm.
I wrote them down.
Pardon?
I wrote them down.
Wrote them down? Okay, cool.
Sticky note.
Perfect.
So
Yeah.
I'm making these numbers up because I'm saying social intelligence is half.
Yeah.
I really feel that strongly. I get to watch new agents and I see who succeeds and who doesn't and why do they succeed. Social intelligence, I believe, is half. I've put drive at 20%, but I mean, drive could be more like 25%. Drive will replace skill any day because the drive is the one thing out of all four of these things. Sorry, I'll get back to drive in a second.
Yeah.
Then I've got skill and marketing at 15% each. So if drive is 20%, I got skill and marketing at 15. I think that makes my 100%.
I'm not going to double check the math, but I'm sure you're right.
50, 20, 15 to 15.
We'll let a C figure it out.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Skill and marketing is very important, obviously. But your drive is what cannot be taught. I will meet somebody and I can tell in the first couple minutes how motivated they are and what their drive is and what their passion is and what is their why, right? Why are they in real estate? So your drive would be number 2 for me for sure. And then I would say it's skill and marketing. Skill comes also with, if you're paying attention, it comes with experience. Somebody in real estate 20 years, if they do 2 deals a year, they don't have a lot of experience. Someone who's been in real estate 5 years, but they do 50 deals a year, they have a lot of experience. And skill will come with experience, but marketing can be taught. You can hire people to do your marketing for you, but drive is the one thing that you either have or you don't. It's like we've all played hockey with that one person who was so gifted and they just had no drive. They're just lazy. They jump on the ice. They're amazing when they want to be, but there's no drive. There's no motivation. There's no effort. And it's just, I see a lot of agents in this business like that.
Yeah. So how have, I guess you said that you've started a bit more social media now, and either because you were social, in the physical, but now you've taken on social media a bit more. How have you been leveraging social media in your business?
Yeah, so we've just every time we get a new listing, it's out on Facebook. My associate is we're partners, and he's a millennial, so he does the Instagram. I'm fighting Instagram. I do not want to start tweeting. I'd rather TikTok than tweet. That would be more my personality. I'd rather.
Are you on TikTok?
Not yet. My daughters are. I'd rather dance in a listing and do a TikTok video than do tweeting. But Instagram and Facebook. Facebook is still huge. We do a lot of advertising on that. I think it's a lost opportunity. I think a lot of people aren't doing it, and it doesn't cost a lot of money to do Facebook ads and smart marketing, right? So quite often I'm on Canadian Tire website or something, and all of a sudden I see one of my top agents appear in front of my face, right? It's very smart marketing. It needs to be utilized more.
Do you particularly have from catching off guard with this one, do you particularly have a budget set aside for marketing? Like, do you have, hey, I'm spending this much percentage of my net revenue on it, or?
Yeah, I don't think you should spend more than 10% on marketing. If you're spending more than 10% on marketing, your GCI is not high enough. So it tells me something's broken. You're maybe not closing enough deals. You're maybe not converting enough. I will say I have become a little more wiser in my later years, and I'm focusing on numbers because naturally I never focused on numbers. I'm a high I. That's not my gift. Mm-hmm. But I'm focusing on numbers now. And if you're a team leader or even just individual, you need to track how many leads, how many appointments, how many conversions. You need to know what aren't you doing that needs some work. And I think I told you in another conversation, I had 2 team members and I had given them 160 leads each. And I tracked the numbers at the end of the year, and I think she did 2 deals. The other one did 29. So if I hadn't tracked that, honestly, I would have not known that to that extent. So you need to track your numbers, but I think if you're spending more than 10% in marketing, you just like marketing. Right. And I have 2 agents who love to see themselves everywhere, and that there's nothing wrong with that. But I think they spend unnecessary money in marketing. At the end of the day, it's not how much GCI you make. It's about your T4A. How much are you netting? And so there's a very fine balance with blowing too much money and maybe not enough.
Yeah, I always thought it'd be funny if, agents, they love posting at number 1 this and number 1 that, look how much I sold. I love if they just sold, if they actually got the poster T4A on the billboard and said, grossed, whatever, grossed 1 million and made 300. And it's like, well,
Michael, we have individual agents who net more than teams.
Yep.
For that exact point. There's no doubt about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Little bit about kind of shifting gears a little bit as we wrap up. I just looking at the future and how have your priorities changed now with a growing family? I know you started young, hustling every day, building this team, building this monster, taking over the brokerage, 4 kids. How have you been balancing it all? How have your priorities shifted over the years?
I realized what my why was when I started, and I think that if you're going to be successful at anything, I think you've got to go in and just jump in the pool. You have to do it with 100%. But you also need to focus on what is your why, what is your motivation, why do you wake up every morning? What would keep me sustaining doing 100 deals every single year for 17 years? It's stupid, right? It's too much. It was my why. I would have to reevaluate why I'm doing this. So when I first started, it was all ego. I'll be honest. I was young. I wanted to be number one, and it was just super ego. Nothing wrong with that, but it was a pretty unfulfilling goal once I hit it, because then I hit number one, and I'm like, now what? So having children was the best thing for me, because we started having kids, and my entire motivation and why changed immediately. So now everything I do is not about being number one. It's about being successful for my family and giving them opportunities that I never had, and being able to save and do things that I never thought I could do, which is an amazing part of this business.
Yep, absolutely. Have you had to, how have you shifted your structure as far as balancing time? Have you outsourced more? How have you kind of been able to spend more time with the kids, or are you?
Yeah.
I know you are. I'm just those things.
My oldest just turned 15. My youngest is 7. So they're at that age. I make jokes sometimes, and I think I've said this to you as well. Doctors say you don't really remember anything before the age of, say, 5. So, if you didn't spend a lot of time with your kids, or you were running out, they're not going to remember till about 5. But then they start getting to this age where it starts to really matter. And yeah, you want to be at that soccer practice. You want to be at that dance recital. And I didn't want to be that realtor. So for my kids' purpose, for their sake, they need me, right? The divorce rate in this business is very high. That's embarrassing. That was my phone. Ringer's never on either. The divorce rate is high in this business because it can take a lot of you. And I think you've got to have that balance. So now what I'm focusing on, like, I was very fortunate. I got an associate. Him and I were very much aligned. We're very much alike. And he has really taken a lot off my plate. He's amazing. He's got a high threshold. He's really good at what he does. And so he's been able to take a lot of weight off my shoulders so that I can focus more time with the family. Anytime you bring somebody new on, it's going to cost you money. But at the end of the day, money isn't everything. And time costs money. Money is time. You're trading one for the other. Absolutely. And you know what? When it comes to family, when it comes to things that you love, you're going to have to do that at some point.
Good stuff. I'll just remind everybody quickly, if you have any questions, answering a couple have come in here that I'll ask. But before I get to those, I like this question. If you could talk to 27-year-old Clinton again, and what would you tell him? How would you advise him?
Invest in real estate. 100%. Sorry, let me just shut this off. That's my PC. Yeah. Invest in real estate. This says, give me 1 minute here. Well, maybe 2.
Yeah. No, cool.
So I didn't ask you this first. I'm going to send you an investment calculator that I created. And if you like it, send it out to your agents, because it's eight different calculators in one. And so I created it because I started getting to the level where I'm like, I want to invest. And so if I see this sixplex, what's the cap rate? What's the ROI on it, right? So I combined 6 of these. I got super nerdy. I love Excel, which I never used to. And that's one thing.
I was going to say, that's the opposite quadrant of your eye there,
yeah,
bud.
It is. It absolutely is. But I realized that I need to shore that up. So I did these calculators into one. It's an investment calculator. It calculates everything for you if this is a good investment. Here's the thing with real estate, and I'm actually invested in stock right now too, but I'm only doing it because we have room in our TFSA, tax-free savings account. Yep. You're smart to do it. You don't get taxed on it. That's the only reason I'm doing stock. but my mutual funds have been terrible over the years. My mutual fund return in the last 15 years has been less than 2%. So I got frustrated once I started tracking this, going, this is stupid. What am I doing? My financial advisor was making more annually than I was in my own mutual funds because his MER was 1.9%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I did this calculator and I'll send it to you. We are professional realtors. We sell real estate for a living. We know the best deals when they come up. We have everybody on our team who can help us purchase real estate. However, out of my 120 agents, I know less than 6 that own a secondary building of any kind.
Well,
when you do the rate of return on real estate, here's my pitch, okay?
Yeah.
Nothing can touch it. I don't care how good your stock is. I don't care how much you think you're making in mutual funds. Nothing can touch it, because where else can you put 20% down? You can realize 100% of the appreciation over the years. The appreciation in my area is 5.83% annually, just in appreciation alone. If you make a great investment, sometimes you have cash flow, which is paying you every year. And not to mention you've rented out that investment and that tenant or tenants are paying down your principal. You have 3 sources of income that are realizing 100% of your, when you go to sell that at some point or not sell it and just rent it out. There is no other, if you do the rate of return, which is really what's important, not cap rate, in my opinion. There's no other investment that can touch that. So I would have told Clinton Miller, buy real estate. Truthfully, I would have held on to all of it. We did a lot of flips for a while and we were making good cash. I would have held on to all my buildings. I would have bought more real estate and I would have just saved money in real estate. It's the safest investment and it will go up.
Yeah. Oh, good stuff. It's kind of like, the dentist with messed up teeth, right? We're realtors, we're promoting home ownership and investment in real estate. Yeah, we don't actually do it ourselves. So
can I just say this? I know 3 accountants. They're very good at what they do. They all double down on real estate. They own a lot of real estate. They're very wealthy. So that was kind of my aha moment with them. I'm like, I started getting to be friends with them and going, okay, these guys are much smarter than me. I need to follow what they're doing and realize that there's something here. But it's amazing that we do this for a living, but a lot of realtors don't realize that the best investment you can possibly make is literally what you're touching every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the questions that came in here about your drive, how do you find your drive?
It's my why. It's constantly reflecting on why I'm doing this. I think if you don't have any goals, goals and why are really important with that. So I have a goal I focus on. I have a why that I focus on daily. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this for my family, for my kids. Why are you doing it? You need to ask yourself you have to have a why. I strongly believe that. If you're just doing this just to make money, I don't know if you won't have the longevity. You'll get burnt out. You need a why and you need goals. And the great part about going back to the real estate thing, you start looking at these goals and start realizing if I pay these buildings off or if I pay this house off, I can actually retire in 10 years, right? I can actually retire in 15 years or 5 years, whatever it is. That's when things start really getting exciting.
Absolutely.
But number one, you have to save money to do that.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I hate to say this, but high I's are the worst at it. And we have a lot of high I's in our company and they are the worst at saving money. And it's sad because some realtors I know have been in the business 20 years and have nothing to show for it. And they sell a lot of real estate and it's really sad to me. So if you don't know the laws of money, you just never have it regardless of how much money you make.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we are a business, right? And we think of ourselves a lot of times as having a job. Like, no, we're a business. We got to be, our numbers got to be in this, got to be investing. And because again, there's no pension in real estate, right? So you got to take care of yourself and take care of your family. It's good.
100%.
Yeah. Can I add another question that came in regarding the drive, just about, if, we talked a little bit wiring. And so what if I don't feel that I'm wired with drive? How do I find it? So there's been a couple on that, but.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
When I meet, so we just hired a new agent yesterday. I can just tell on the phone, I know that sounds cocky, but you talk to enough people and you do this long enough, you just get a feel for drive and passion. I think clients are the same. When they have you at their kitchen table, they get a feel for your drive and passion.
Mhm.
Do they want to hire somebody who doesn't have any passion for real estate? Is that somebody you want to hire? Is it someone that's negative, or are they positive? How do you know? So I always look at that, and I'm cautious and conscientious is a better word of my drive. So if you don't naturally have drive, how do you get it? I think you need to, I mean, if you're analytical, have a goal, have something that you can hit, have a target that you can hit, and try to go, okay, I want to achieve this by this time. And every single day, this is what I'm going to do to get there. And that's a really hard question.
Yeah, it is. And that's why I wanted to ask it. But it's also one of those things where it's not like, I don't think it's like you either have it or you don't. Like, I think like you said, the word passion, if you replace the word drive with passion,
yeah,
there's going to be a passion in everyone for something. It's not like completely some passionless person. There's going to be something, and it might take, whether it's being number one or providing or hitting a goal, there's got to be something that you're passionate about, and that gets you out of bed, or there's got to be something that, let's just say, makes you feel alive, right?
Yeah.
And so I'll say, I'm kind of answering this for you, but
yeah,
I had one of these,
I appreciate it. Good.
Yeah. I had, long ago when I was youth, we both did YWAM. It was my YWAM leader. And she says, write down 100 things that make you come alive, that make you feel good. And, and it was everything from playing golf in bare feet to, throwing a football perfectly, all these things. And then it kind of expanded. And it just was a very revealing exercise to go, there's lots that makes you come alive. There's lots that you're passionate about.
Right.
And maybe it's not, number one, but there's other things in you that make you feel alive, that you are passionate about. Tap into those, right? And if it's a C, and if it's, accuracy makes you come up, great. Well, then let's run crazy analytical ads, and track the numbers, and, maybe do some marketing that way. Like there's all kinds of things. So I don't know if that's actually an answer, but it kind of got me thinking of, geez, when I was 19 again.
I think at the end of the day, money does make the world go round. Like if you want to retire young, or you want to have time to do things, it's going to cost you money. Yep. And I look at that and go, okay, I have to make money regardless. And so if I can be really successful and make a lot of it, then I can do what I want to do, and I can go out fishing, because that's one of my passions. I can go out in the boat and do salmon fishing, 3 days of the week if I do this properly, or I can get on the golf course and do this. Yeah. So yeah, maybe having some goals and what you said, coming alive, figure out what those are, and then have those as your goals. Saying, I get to do this if I do this, this, and this.
Right. Absolutely. No, that's good stuff. We kind of gave the last kind of 10 seconds or so here just to see if anybody has any final questions into our question box or chat for Clinton. Okay. Unless anything comes in. Clinton, I do want to thank you for your time. I know I took you a little bit over time, but again, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. And I hope that, when this conference comes back around, you can come to Winnipeg and I get to take you fishing. Won't be quite, I don't quite have the same boat or the same fish to catch, but we'll hopefully show you a good time.
It would be fun. Look forward to it. Yeah.
You bet. Awesome. Hey, Clinton, thanks again. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay. Take care.
Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.